Now, my question is very simple, and I'm thinking about this for a long time. Honorable Sean, you are the leader of the PAM party. I would like to know, and I'm sure everybody will like to know, when you all win, is you all go to jail, Douglas? That's my question.
We'll take the last question and then the leaders will answer and then we'll take another set of questions. Next question.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Donald Phipps, aka Brother Nabo from the People's Republic of Yemen. My question is to Brother Richards and Brother Powell, what are your vision for better St. Kitts and Nevis moving forward? That's all, brother.
Okay, I'm going to call on the leaders to respond to the Just a second. We're going to allow the leaders to respond to those questions and then we take the next batch of questions. Honorable.
To the first gentleman that indicated to us that he doesn't think the unity concept has come out of the need for such, but out of circumstances. I say to you that many things are born out of circumstances. And they have been successful.
Thank you.
There are many persons right now who owns a business, and it was because perhaps they were unemployed why they were forced to go into that particular direction. Circumstances forced them to do it, but at the end of the day, it is the fact that they were committed to it and to ensuring that it works. In regards to the second part of your question, how are we going to remove VAT on food and the 6% on the 6% custom service charge on the electricity bills and still maintain a standard of living for the civil servants? The fact of the matter is that just like all the ordinary citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis, civil servants too are suffering. Civil servants have not received an increase in salary over the last 3 years. It is only now that the general election is approaching, they are being told they are going to get their increments. Now, how do we remove that and still have money to run the country? I mentioned SIDF. Our passports are being sold and placed in a private fund. That money does not go into the consolidated fund. Imagine at a time when you're saying to persons who would have invested in bonds that you have to give them a 50% haircut. You can find $100 million to place in Kittition Hills, which is supposed to be a private foreign direct investment project. $46 million recently to Crystal Harbor, a project that we were told had all the necessary financing available to them. The cost of a monthly salary to the government for civil servants is approximately $15 million per month. It means that $150 which have been invested in those two projects could have been used over and over again to give civil servants, whether it is a double salary or an increase in salary. We have spoken about corruption. There is a fact that corruption is rampant in government. When a foreign company is going to say to the government, I can build a road for $50 million and your own public works department saying to you, I can bill it for half of the amount, and you still give that contract to overseas contractors, then one has to wonder, is it that you're getting something in return? And some corruption in government, it has to be stamped out. You stamp it out, I assure you that the government will have more money. Let us also look at the economic effect, because I'm certain that the number of persons would have said back in 1980 that if the government removes personal income tax, how is the government going to survive? Not only did the government survive, but St. Kitts and Nevis was ranked as first in economic development in Latin America and the Caribbean. You give persons more money to spend, persons will spend more money. Businesses will invest more. When businesses invest, they pay social security, they pay for electricity, they pay taxes. And so you can see the economic effect of giving persons more money to spend. Are we going to jail Dr. Douglas?
Yes! Jail him!
Let me say this. We have absolutely no intention of having a commission of inquiry. What we intend to do is to have the necessary forensic experts do their investigation, and at the end of the day, the court will determine the outcome if there is anything to take the court courts.
In relation to the last question, how do we as a party and a government of national unity intend to take the country forward? I think Mr. Richards outlined a number of initiatives in which we have put forward and which we intend to do immediately in a government of national unity. I don't think this is a forum in which we can go into specific details, but I do remind you of not just the brief synopsis of an economic plan that Mr. Richards just outlined, but things in terms of building the private sector, which creates employment and opportunities for persons, as opposed to having the civil service consume everybody, as has happened under the Labour administration. Create opportunities for people. Teach them how to fish. Things like removal of and reduction of the VAT and electricity in the various sectors allows for more fiscal manipulation and movement for persons to do what they have to do. You have more money in your pocket, you spend more. In order for you to have a better cost of living, a better standard of living, your cost of living must be reduced. So when we talk about reducing your electricity rates, we talk about removing VAT from essential foodstuff, from medication. It lowers your cost of living and raises your standard of living. We talk about the introduction of integrity in public life legislation and freedom of information legislation. This creates a crystal clear government, a government under the sunshine, where you can see exactly where your monies are going and what they're being used for, so that there's absolutely no question as to who's taking what under the table as is happening now. You will know exactly what is happening. And with that clear conscience, you can see and feel better on the government of national unity. Let me also go on to say that even in terms of sporting facilities, for example, all of a sudden the government is finding it necessary to fix lights that had been down for years, to build courts, and to, I'm particularly ashamed of the Minister of Sports, who is what he is today as a result of basketball, and yet we can't have a proper basketball facility in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I say that because so many of our young people are getting opportunities, educational and otherwise, via sports. We have more and more young people being able to go in on sporting scholarships and getting degrees and coming back and being able to contribute. And we want to develop that. And lastly, let me just touch on something that the Honorable Eugene Hamilton has been championing for some years now, which is the venture capital program, whereby funds will be made available for persons who can't necessarily or don't necessarily qualify for loans from the commercial banks, but you'll be given the opportunity to get a grant of funds to start a business, to do your own thing as opposed to have to depend on people. And these are just some of the ways in which we want to empower our people to drive the economy going forward.
Next question, please.
Good evening. Cleo Rogers, Connery Village, Hamilton all the way. My question is, I listen on the news and I hear Marcella telling her people to come out on Wednesday. And we all know what they want to do on Wednesday. I want to know, what are we doing on Wednesday? Because then by the hook or the crook, people, we must go into town and we should not leave Bastille. We should not let them do what they plan to do on Wednesday. So Sean, what are we doing on Wednesday?
Next question, please. Take the next question.
My question is about the Unity Party.
Just 1 second, please.
Just listen.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Is the Unity Party... Sorry?
Kiss the mic.
The Unity Party, is it just a one-time thing for now as to get what you want done, or where do you see it going from here?
Actually, there is no Unity Party.
What, not the Unity Party, but what,
okay.
You know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Where do you see it going from here?
They will address it in a couple of minutes. Let me take one more question. Next person waiting to ask a question. This is your opportunity. Please. Okay, in the meantime, while the next person comes to the microphone, any one of the good gentlemen? What are we doing on Wednesday? And the Unity government.
In regards to this coming Wednesday when Parliament meets, we do plan to stage demonstrations, to stage protests as usual. Just as they would have encouraged their supporters to come to Bastille, we will also be doing the very same thing. I do know that on Tuesday afternoon at 4:30, the NGOs, they have come together to organize a prayer vigil at, I think it's the Anglican Church in Bastille. Monday afternoon at the Anglican Church in Bastille. Of course, if there's any attempt to change the boundaries, we will take the matter before the court. Where does the unity concept go from here? First of all, let me say that the concept of a government of national unity has not been driven by the politicians. Poll after poll said to us that this is the preference of the people. And so long as that is the preference of the people, we will endeavor to serve the people because they are the ones who elect us to serve them.
Please don't forget, from 1980 up to 1995, there was a government of the People's Action Movement and the NRP. As we stand here today, there's a government of the Douglas Labour Party and the NRP. It's not new. What might be new would be having men of integrity looking for the betterment of the country. Do we have anyone else wishing to ask a question? Please do so.
Good evening. My name is Cypher Phillips. I want to commend the leader of the People's Action Movement, the Honorable Sean Richards, and his colleague. Let me start by just making a brief statement. Basically, those who are afraid of the future will be consumed by the past. I see the concept of unity as a further advancement of even what we call a coalition government. Because for the first time we have leaders who are willing to come first, not after elections, and indicate where they want to go. And it takes brave men of integrity to do that. It is not a party. We don't know where it's going. We never dreamed our country would be where it is today. And so I want to commend the forthrightness of these young men to be willing to move on to another level. In fact, it is a shame that St. Kitts, being the first colony that was colonized by the British, was almost the last to be independent. And now we are ready to move the Caribbean to another level. Some of our people are not quite ready. There's a book which headlines and says, if you do not step out of the boat, you will never walk on water. My question, the SIDF funds, that is a sore point, especially with respect to where our country is. What is the specific state of affairs with respect to that? And how can we utilize that in terms of moving us forward? Thank you very much.
Any other pending questions? Okay, Mr. Leader, Mr. Jonah, all yours.
In regards to the specific state of affairs of SIDF, your guess is as good as mine. The last set of accounts that we saw for SIDF were up until 2010. We haven't seen any accounts since then for SIDF. And that is one of the reasons we are saying that SIDF needs parliamentary oversight, and the Director of Audit for Government should be able to audit the accounts of SIDF. It is our passport's money. It is not the money from the sale of some private asset belonging to Denzel Douglas or some other individual. We do know, because we have seen the accounts up to 2010, that they have invested almost $100 million in Petition Hills. They issued a press release recently indicating that they have invested $46 million in Christophe Harbour. We have been told that SIDF is paying for the PEP program. We have been told that they're doing a number of other things. For example, I heard just before I left that it seems as though the government now wants to buy out the major shareholder for the cable company, Mr. Ewan, and apparently they're looking at SIDF funds in order to do so. The electricity should have been increased again in January of this year. There had been an announcement that an additional 6% surcharge would be added to the bills. We are now told that thanks to SIDF, we don't have to pay that 6% because it is being subsidized by SIDF. SIDF is like a government unto itself in St. Kitts. Roads, the Southeast Peninsula Road right up to Frigate Bay is supposed to be repaved. we have been told that the monies will be coming from SIDF. I think that would give you an indication as to the amount of monies passing through SIDF and basically one individual determining how those monies are to be spent. When you look in his constituency alone, a number of projects there have been funded by SIDF. Basketball court, some sort of farming program. I mentioned condition hills already. And a number of projects being funded by SIDF. And we only get the information as we go along. The Honorable Eugene Hamilton had raised a question in Parliament at one point in time asking how many passports have been sold and how much money is in the fund. The Prime Minister said that in his capacity as Prime Minister, he doesn't have access to the information.